this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I have a project I wanted to share with you for a thank you note. Now, this is not my normal size card. In fact, I chose my card size based on my envelope because I knew I needed one larger than normal. So today we're going to be making a 5 by 7 inch card. And so to start with, we needed some stuff. I have, from Close to My Heart, I have this, I guess the Jewel Tone ink set, and I'm going to be using Outdoor Denim because I like the darkness of that. Of course, some adhesive. I've got 2 colors of 3 Girl Gem ribbon. I've got a the Witch's Brew, and then I also have Antique White. We'll be using those. From Paper Tray Ink, I've got the Counting My Blessings stamp set, and I'm also using the die set. I bought both of those when I purchased this, and so I have both of those. I have, from Basic Gray, I have the Woolies, and this is from the Marjolaine kit. And I think all I'm going to be using from here is this flower, but we'll see, that's subject to change. I used some spellbinders. I used the large scalloped octagons, and I used a couple sizes of those, which you'll see in the video. Then the paper I chose, I use vintage for my card base. I'm using Vintage Cream, and I'll show that to you in a minute, from Paper Tray Ink. Then I just found the scrap in my scrap stash. I believe it was from Cloud 9, and you'll see what I did with it. Even though it's not the exact same color of blue, it does coordinate nicely, and it will work for the base. Because I'm using this 6x6 pad, the blue wasn't, any of the papers in the bottom of it were not big enough to do a 5 by 7 card. So I had to kind of alter my plan and find a paper that coordinated. So this is from Basic Gray, and this is the PB&J collection, and I'm using 4 different papers from it. I'm using this navy, and then this, I don't know if the camera can even pick it up because it's very faint, but this is actually a navy and kind of a cream or off-white chevron. So I used that. Then I use this really pretty flower paper, and then this polka dot paper. And I chose these papers because I wanted to use this woolly, and even though I don't have the Marjolaine collection, it coordinates well together. So let's get started. Now, to start with, I've already cut my paper, my card base, and as I said, it's a 5 by 7 card. And to do that, I used a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I cut it at 7 inches wide and 10 inches across and scored it in the middle to form my card base. So there's our card base. Makes a nice strong card base. Now I'm going to set that aside because we're going to be doing some ribbon, and so I want to work on this first because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do my ribbon. Now again, I have the same problem with my card, not with my pattern paper not being big enough, but I'm using 2 different pattern paper. So what I did is I took this polka dot one and I cut it at 3 3/4 inches wide by 4.5 inches. I'm sorry, 3 3/4 inches tall by 4.5 inches wide, and that's going to go right here. Now this piece is let's see, so it's 4 3/4 inches wide by 6 3/4 inches tall. So we're going to adhere this one down to start with. And the reason I cut this bigger than the other one is because I wanted it to have some, I wanted to draw a line so I would have some overlapping, because it's very difficult for me to line up papers exactly if I'm just trying to I guess you'd say butt them up to each other. And so by providing myself with a little bit of overlap, I drew a very faint pencil line here, and so it will be nice and straight, and I don't have to worry about things not meeting correctly, and it's just a simpler way that I choose to do it. Now I'm using quite a lot of adhesive here, and I'm just going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to line up using my line here and here. Just line up those 2 pieces so that I have then a framed part for my card base, just like that. So there's my card base, and this is going to be the bottom of the card, and this is the top of the card. Now I have my 2 pieces of ribbon here, and I haven't quite decided how I want to do this yet. I think if you had some navy ribbon, that would be gorgeous on this, and you'll see why I say that in a minute. But we will use what I've got here. Yeah, I think this is what I'm going to like here. I'm going to just leave myself plenty of ribbon here to work with, and then we'll go back and trim it up in a few minutes. But I'm going to tie a bow, and I'm going to offset it to the side here. Now, if you wanted to, you could also not put it across the back. Obviously, I will need a lot of adhesive. I wanted it to be across the back just because I just wanted to be able to tie it that way. But if you were trying to really save ribbon, I suppose you could just put it across the top and then tie a small bow. But that's not how I chose to do it. Either way is fine, and either way will look very pretty, just depending on how you want to do it. Now, I am not going to trim my bow or do anything with that yet, because I will play with that a little bit more after I finish, after I get everything else adhered down. So that is going to go just like that, and we'll make the bow all pretty in just a few minutes. Okay, so now that I have that done, and I want to pull this down just a tad, okay, just like that. Now I'm going to use my adhesive to adhere the back. I think I'm going to pull my ATG gun out just because I'm going to be using a lot of adhesive, and the ATG adhesive is really strong, and I want to save some of my others. So like I said, I am being very generous with the adhesive. Just like so. And just edge it up. Now, if you've watched many of my videos before, you know that I really prefer to line the inside of my card. However, there are going to be lots of people signing this card, and so I am not going to line it because I want to leave plenty of room. I was thinking about how I was going to line it, and then I decided, you know, I probably don't want to do that because there are going to be, I need to have plenty of room in there. So now we've got my little bow, and it's off to the side just like that. Now if I wanted to twist it around, I could, but I wanted it on the side like that. So now this is where our spellbinders come into play. I have the 2 scalloped. I use the same navy, that navy that I'm showing you, and that's my larger scallop. And then my smaller scallop is that chevron, and I really wish you could see the chevron. It's very pretty, but it's very, very subtle. But it is a very pretty little scallop. I'm sorry, very pretty little chevron. I have found myself really liking chevrons lately. Now this one is going to go probably right about here, like so, to kind of offset the bow. It may even come down. And then I am going to put this on adhesive, or I've already put it on foam adhesive. This is the die from Paper Tray Ink that says Thankful, and I have added some foam tape to that. But before I adhere all that down, I need room to stamp. So I'm just showing you where it's going, and so I know, kind of have a good idea where I'm going to place my stamp, so that when it's done, it will say Thankful Beyond Measure. So I'm inking up my stamp really well, and that may be off camera. I apologize if it is. But it's going to say Beyond Measure, and that's going to go right about there. And I don't, all this extra bulk, even with the ribbon, I'm going to have to be careful. Getting a good image is going to be a little bit challenging, so I just have to be careful, especially now that I have my card all put together. Oh, and it worked. Very nice. All right, let me just clean off my stamp real quick. Grab a fresh wipe here, because I don't want that pigment, that paper, or that Close to My Heart ink is pigment ink, and I don't want it to permanently stain my die. Okay, so now we can finish putting the rest of the card together. So let's put the thankful on first. And this is going to take me a second to get all those little tabs off my foam. It's kind of one of the curses of doing this, but I really still, I wanted the dimension for the card. I believe this card is going to be hand delivered, so I don't have to be too careful about how much bulk I add to it, which is always something you want to think about. For two reasons, remember, and I know I've discussed this before, but I have sent cards in the mail that have been ruined in the mail because they were too bulky. So if you're going to mail a bulky card, you might want to think about putting it in a box or a padded envelope or something like that. The other reason is it does add to your postage if you have too much bulk. Even though it's standard, it's a standard size card, it will add to your postage. There we go. Kind of put the bow a little bit behind there, just like so. Just like so. So now we've got the Thankful Beyond Measure, and almost I think I could leave it just like that. Just like that is pretty, but I think instead I do want to add my scallop. Now I could put that on foam tape as well, but I have decided that I don't want to. I want it to be flat because my flower has quite a bit. These woolies are those kind of felty wool. They probably are just felt. And so they're a little bit more dimensional. Plus they have, this particular one has wire on it. So we've got this. Now this lighter blue is a new blue at first glance that's not in the flower or in the card anywhere else at first glance, but if you look closely, it's very similar to the blue that's in the polka dot and very similar to the tiny bit of blue that's in the flower there. So there we have Thankful Beyond Measure. Now I was thinking about this area up here, and I think I want to add just something else if I have the right color, and I do. I have this Say It With Bling from Want to Scrap, and I think if we add that, I'll kind of finish off the corners a little bit. Don't want that little tiny one though. So let's see. I know I want them up here in this corner. So I think, now you'll notice that first one I put down firmly, but the rest of them I'm not going to because I'm not sure that I'm going to leave it just like this. We'll see. Turn it upside down so my head doesn't get in the camera, but I can still see it. I think I am going to leave it just like that, and maybe call that good. So there we have it, Thankful Beyond Measure. So thanks so much for stopping by today. Remember to take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.